Well, hey gang, how are you doing? Jonathan here for Tailhunter Sportfishing, and it's time once again for the Mexican Minute La Paz video fishing report, coming to you from La Paz, Baja, Mexico, and covering all of the fishing action for our Tailhunter Sportfishing fleet for the dates of the 14th through the 22nd of October 2022. Wherever you are, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for checking in and spending time with us, and please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, let me tell you about what's been going on. I took a few extra days really to do the report this week. There's a couple of reasons why. Number one, it's a good reason. There really hasn't been a lot of change in the fishing. Dorado are still biting. I'll tell you about that in a minute. The other thing was that, as we always do, I keep an eye on the extended weather forecast. Now, what I was seeing is it looked like there was a storm that was brewing a couple hundred miles south of us. It was a little invest, and then it turned into a tropical depression, then a tropical storm. And as I do this, it's actually a hurricane. I think it's a Category 1, maybe a Category 2. The fortunate thing, though, is that it didn't come up this way. It curved inland. Not so good for the folks there inland where it hit, but for us here in La Paz, like I said, a couple hundred miles away, I don't think it's going to have much of an effect. We might get some waves, we might get a little bit more wind, but overall, the skies are still going to be blue, the sun's going to be out, and fishing's going to continue to be good. Because, you know, if you've been watching the fishing report for the last 2 months or so, listen, if you can't catch a Dorado right now, something is seriously wrong. You've got your hands in your pockets, you're not using any bait or fishing line, because the Dorado bite is still a solid, I'm going to give it a 10 right now. Like I said, if you can't catch a Dorado right now, something's seriously wrong. Most of these fish, they're that schoolie size, 5 pounds to 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 12 pounds, that range. You get into a school of these things, and it can be what we call a Dorado rodeo. You might go all day, not hook much of anything, and then right at the end, boom, you hit that school, and it goes crazy, and you fill the box all at one time. Or, as some of the boats are doing, they're hitting fish right out the bat, right out of the chute, and then they're coming back early going, you know what, I still got 4 more days of fishing to do. I got enough Dorado. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to chase something else. But Dorado, really, really good. There are some larger fish, 20, 25 pounds. We've got some in the 40-pound class. A lot of those fish, yes, they're getting hooked. A lot of those, yes, they're getting lost. They're big fish for a reason. They're tough. They're smart. If you don't have a lot of experience on these, you know, what can I say? Angler error, part of the fun. You never know what's going to bite, and that's what really keeps it really interesting. You don't know if you're going to catch a 5-pounder or the next fish is going to be a 40 or 50-pound fish. Also, in addition to the Dorado, still finding, this is really strange because normally our roosterfish season is going to be in the springtime and early summer. That April, May, June, maybe July. But we haven't seen a lot of roosterfish for a while, but we're still catching some incidentals have popped up in the fishing reports. Had some of our guys, they pulled into a little bay to start cleaning fish, and suddenly they had, you know, these little 5 and 10-pound roosterfish all around them, took out the spinning gear and the light tackle, had a great time. Incidentally, also, some of our other anglers fishing outside, fishing for Dorado, Bonito, and they hook a 10 or 20-pound roosterfish. So it's not out of the question that you're going to catch a roosterfish this time of year, even though it's very, very uncommon to have them at this point in the season. Other species, lots of Bonito. They're all over the place. They're going to pull you. They're a lot of fun until you're into number like 5 or 6. Then you realize, wow, you know, these things pull hard. I'd really rather be catching something else. But keep in mind that our captains are using the Bonito. They're using stripped Bonito. They're using whole Bonito actually to attract the Dorado. The Bonito meat, it's very, very bloody. It's very, very oily. If you ever fillet one of these things, you're going to see how dark the meat is, how oily it is if you feel it. They're going to use some of the strips, and they're going to drag that behind the boat, or in some cases, some of my captains will cut some little strips along the side, let it bleed out, and drag it right there in the prop wash right behind the motor. And you'll be surprised how often you'll see Dorado come right up into the prop wash because they're following that scent. Now, when you're into a school and you've got a lot of these small guys fish swimming around, you throw your sardine in there, and right on the edge you see the big boy just cruising around. But because these little guys are so attracted to movement, and because they see a sardine hit the water, they're all over it. The big guy never gets a chance. Well, in some cases, what really, really is very effective is to take a chunk of this Bonito, bloody, it's oily, put it on the hook, throw some bait in the water, let the little guys go for that, then cast this chunked bait on the hook into the area where you saw the big boy, and the big boy now has a chance to grab that, and boom, you're on a big fish. So that's very effective. So if it looks like the captain is only chasing bonito, there's a reason for that. Number one, he wants you to have some action. Number two, we're using the bonito for bait. Other species, we're also getting pargo and cabria inshore. A lot of folks aren't chasing those fish. They're after the blue water species. So inside, along the rocks, along the reefs and area, those fish have not seen a lot of traffic lately. So we've had some of our guys who catch so many Dorado over their previous days will use their last day or their last couple of days and catch some pargo, cabria, and there's some big fish in there. Don't poo-poo this, because you get in there and you can be in 10, 15 feet of water, and there's some big some giant pargo in there, some big cabria that will strip your line, break you off, run you into the rocks, and that's a lot of fun. We're still getting a couple of sailfish, still seeing some marlin being caught. Most of this is incidental catch. They're in the middle of a Dorado school, you're in the middle of a Bonito school, and the big boy comes cruising along. He's eating the smaller Bonito, eating smaller Dorado, and he picks up your bait, which is on a little hook, and game on, fish on. So we're catching some of those as well. Let me tell you that despite the good fishing that we're having, things are changing really rapidly. We are pretty much at the end of our official fishing season. We've gone from 20, 30, 40 fishermen a day to pretty much a handful, and it's trickling down and diminishing quite a bit. What we're seeing is the air temperatures have dropped a good, 5 to 10 degrees in the last 2 weeks. Temperatures right now, instead of being in the high 90s, low hundreds, are instead in the high or low 90s and high 80s right now. It's breezier, it's windier in the afternoons. The north winds are starting to blow. Out here in the bay behind me there, in the afternoon, it kind of white caps, and it's going to get stronger and stronger with each progressive week until it's going to be very, very difficult to fish. We normally say November to April is our off season, and there's a reason for that. These northern winds blow. It's going to be very difficult to fish. In some cases, maybe half the week, the port captain shuts things down because it's really treacherous out there. For safety reasons, he's going to prevent and prohibit all boat traffic, and it's going to get stronger with each progressive month as we get into the winter. Now, if you're coming down during the winter time, that doesn't mean it's a terrible time to be here, because this is when all the snowbirds come down. It's great sunshine. It's still going to be in the 70s and 80s, but to be on the water could be a little bit rough, and so we don't do a lot of fishing during that time. There's a reason why all of the windsurfers come down here during the wintertime from all over the world. It's because we have world-class winds. So just want to put and give you a heads up on that we're just coming down to about the end of our season. So anyway, that's a quick wrap on what's going on. Thank you very much for checking in. Really appreciate it. I'm Jonathan for the Mexican Minute. You take care of each other. God bless. We'll catch you next week.